Alright, this is probably the only type of video I'm going to do on this, unless I win more games in the future, but I think I played an alright game. There were definitely missed opportunities on both sides. It was a fair and equal game, but we went into theory on move 7, which in Sicilian I don't think is a good thing necessarily, but I won this game, so uh, I'm just gonna review it and give like a self-analysis. So Sicilian, I now the thing about the Sicilian is I was told not to play it because who I was talking to, his name is Andrew and he's a national instructor, so he coaches and teaches people to play chess. And I tune into his streams and I've learned a few things, but recently I'd taken an interest in the Sicilian defense, and most people, especially newer people, they play e4, or they'll play d4. Sometimes newer players will play the London, but everyone I played against played e4, the two people I played against, and I had one game as white, but we're not going to talk about that. This is the Sicilian defense crash course, how to play this line. This is what I played. And it was actually like, it got brutal for me in the end, but like the last few moves were so crucial that if I didn't play it, I would have lost for sure. And my opponent, he was a little 4 or 5-year-old Asian kid. I went to a chess tournament nearby, and he was there, and he actually beat everybody in his division. He went 4 wins, 0 losses. So this is a kid who was like sweeping the competition, and someone in like a similar rating as me. So like, and when I lost both my first 2 games, I don't think I was going into my 3rd game thinking I was gonna win, especially since I saw the kid and I knew who he was. I figured, oh man, he's about to give me a run for everything. Like I played 200 plus Sicilian games in a week, just nonstop, rapid blitz, and and this is the result. So he kept it closed, which I didn't like because usually I like knight here guarantees he can't play the Grand Prix, but because of that, I played close Sicilian. If he plays Grand Prix, which I don't know, some people might consider because they look up how to play against the Sicilian and they see the Grand Prix, then we just play d4 and we gain this control over the center. And even if he pushes, we push here, and there's no knight to take back immediately. He has to take with queen. So when queen takes, knight c6, and queen has to move back. And she has to move back all the way. Otherwise our dark squared bishop, white's dark squared bishop gets locked in. And she can't move here because, or she could move to another square like give check, but why would she, I mean, try to pin the knight? But when she does that, we have our own bishop. And if bishop comes in, there's some tricks that you can try to trap the queen. So yeah, it's all a matter of opportunity, because usually the white squared bishop wants to trade off with this c6 knight. But if it trades off and you take back with bishop, white can't develop this knight. It's still out of play. And it has to move the queen back because the bishop's attacking. So it's a kind of nice trick if white really goes that route. Sorry, I had to take a drink, but that's not what my opponent played. It's just something I was prepared for, and even if they didn't play queen a4 went back, I would start developing normally. But yeah, that's why because if they played open, I play this. There's no knight f6 closed, and because the f4 can't advance, there's no Grand Prix. But then he played knight f3, so I said, okay, let me bring out e6. No, I didn't bring any knights out yet. And this is what my opponent played. Bishop b5 check. Now, usually, bishop b5 comes with the fun line. Some people will play this, and now that bishop's taking that knight no matter what. So, I don't think it really matters what you play here. Like, you can try to open up to try to bring your bishop out to take back, but anyone who plays against the Sicilian and gets this line knows to take. And you have 3 pawns and 2 doubles. So, and yeah, it becomes a weakness later on. And now white can actually develop the knight out, and you have to, can't even go there. You have to play here. But yeah, it's just a thought. So that's why I avoided it. So he gave this check, you know, I'll trade the bishops off here. I like this. So, move 6, castles. Move 6, knight f6. d3. Now, it's interesting he didn't play d4 right away. Because if he plays d4 right away, you have to take. Otherwise, why are you playing the Sicilian defense? That's actually quoted from someone else's video. It's something I remembered, and it just makes a lot of sense. So when he delayed d4, that's delaying tempo, because he's gonna have to play d4. I'm sitting. This pawn's chilling. It's not moving. But there's that. And I guess this is the point where I stepped into theory and said, new game, don't play any of the other recommended moves. As far as I can tell, there hasn't been a game played with g6 move 7 here in this position. So, yeah, see all these, look how many of these top games show up. But me, theory, g6, no games found. I mean, this is true. If I'm the only one to have started this line, then I think this is a really great game. So bishop g5, I was expecting that. You know, pin the queen. And then I played bishop d7. You know, you have to. Otherwise, there was no reason for g6. Queen e2, which he's trying to plan double up the rooks. Because this pawn tries to advance, and you pretty much take, and the queen will take, and have a rook defending. And actually, no, the queen won't take. The knight will take, trying to force a trade of knight so the queen can get in. Pretty much once you move this knight out of the way somewhere, a better square, because this pawn will be gone, so it's not a threat. Knight can stay here because this pawn's backing it up, and it actually closes the d file. So, but that didn't happen. I tried to kick the black bishop back, and he didn't want to go back because I would just keep kicking it back, and then pretty soon, because if he goes here, he has to go here. Go here. The bishop's trapped. It can't go here anymore. And if he pushes this to get it back, I mean, king's it's a really closed position. So his other options are to just go back right away. But that's like delaying development. So I don't think he had any use for this dark squared bishop, especially since the position was being planned on being closed. And as we all know, knights are more favorable in closed, which is why there were some tricks. So he took the knight. You know, I still got a knight. And I guess you could argue that you can take back with your knight. And probably should, but this, you know, we went into theory here. No games found. This is one of a kind. Took back with the bishop. And he played rook e1, which makes sense. That would have been his move played, and his queen would have still been here, and then he probably would have played queen e2 here, had he played rook e1 earlier instead of queen. But anyway, it would have been the same. And my idea was Now, honestly, after this move, my thought behind this was, I take, pawn takes, he has 2 double pawns. If he pushes, I'll take. He'll probably take with pawn just so he doesn't have pawns, but I'll be fine with that, I guess. That was my thought process. So I played a6, preparing for this move, because bishop. I dealt with this before. It actually happened in my first Sicilian game in the tournament, and it's why it cost me. I gave up the b7 pawn because I like my rook on the c file, and he had like played knight. I stepped to theory again. I played knight b6 when I had the same line. I played knight b6, and he played, I don't know where his knight was. Somehow it traveled, but it got to this square, and both our knights were here, and there's a pawn. Because his bishop was here, and he was trying to bring it here, but like we were getting into an interesting battle. It was like kind of preventing that. So I traded, and he had 2 pawns, and I couldn't play this. Otherwise, I risk pawn takes, rook takes, and now he has a free flying past pawn. And yeah, so that game didn't end well for me. I didn't even get to castle that game. I didn't even get to play bishop g6 and do that. So like, it was a disaster that game. I failed, and I deserved to lose that game. So yeah, rook b1, I expected it, but played that, and I was told in my review not to take this pawn in this position, but I did it anyways, because, I figured, why are you playing the Sicilian if you don't take when he pushes d4? So that's like exactly what I did, and it actually provided a weakness because I allowed the double pawns and I allowed it to take back. So we both have 2 center pawns, and he has chances to gain more space. So it kind of became a very positional battle from here. We have similar positions. He has 2, there's no, he has kind of more space. But like, we have these 2 pawns that are guarding, one's guarding each other, and I have an open c file. So we'll see how this goes. c4, I didn't expect this to be played at all, and I knew I had to take because, I don't know, let's see what engine says. Yep, engine says I have to take. Top move. So I did take, and remember, we'll see what the engine says after, like a quick review of what engine says every top move should have been in every position, because you'll see how vastly different the human play is. That's why I don't have the engine turned on right now. This is all like what human play is compared to what the engine would play. Queen takes, that was obvious. And then I played a move that wasn't even a candidate move. Queen a5. It was, when I checked, watch, I'll show you. When I checked the engine, it wasn't even recommended. There's no engine recommendation for this line. It even says the position is equalized and I should play knight here, which, I don't know, to me at the time when I was looking at this board, because I was in this position, and when it got to this point of the game, because I never like faced something like this, open file, blah blah, yeah, it was interesting. I never considered I did consider knight f6 back, but not at this moment. My line of thinking was queen a5, target, hit this pawn, and if maneuvers can be made, but pretty much, because if this queen ever leaves protecting this pawn, or he doesn't move a rook back, then yeah. That was my line of thinking. So I went queen a5, which gives white an instant advantage, but we'll turn that off. I mean, it's going to stay there anyways. Oh, no, it's gone. So queen c6, logical move. Strong. I got scared here because, remember, I was in the expectation that this kid was going to rock my shit like no joke. Like he 4-0'd everybody in the last tournament, and I lost every game in my last tournament, and I already lost the first 2 games, so I was 0-6, 0 wins, 6 losses. So I didn't have a good feeling, but we stepped into theory, move 7. For me to have been my queen, and the idea behind knight f6 was because even if he played here or a different move, my queen would have still been here to protect his pawn, and it didn't want the queen to take that pawn, but which is what happened. And because of that, I took this pawn, and this is where things I got a bit scared. The end game was intense. It was a battle. Played queen e5, hitting my knight again. So I went here. I figured this is a great. If he allows me to take this pawn, that's check. King has to go back, and then I can do so much. But he didn't allow that. He went queen g3, which I respected because I played h5 to keep my knight there. But then he booted me back, and I'm like, my knight's still safe on f6. But he continued to target. And I could have played king g7. I probably should, but I went back to d7. And he played queen g5, and that's when I was like, alright, he's trying to get here. So I'm like, nope, I'm a-okay right now. His knight can't come here, because that would be what would happen. g4, I was shocked at this move. I said, he wants to bust this open. So I busted it open first. I said, okay, let's go. Now I expected queen take, which makes more sense to me, you know? Because queen takes, you still have a pawn. And yeah, but he played pawn takes, which I guess makes sense. He wants to use the file. But because the file is open, king g7. This was one of the top candidate moves when we checked the engine, and even when I played it in this position and showed the people hosting and stuff, they liked this move. They said, yep, you're planning to use that open file against him because he got it opened up, but now I can do it first because he can't bring his rook. I mean, he can bring his queen, but you're not going to trade a queen for a rook. So that's what he tried to do, but I was on king g7 first. I decided to harass the queen, and they said I did good to do this because I go here and there's no other move. Queen has to go there, and I have the open file, and I have the queen here for a crossroad. I played g5 to solidify, and it actually told me it was but yeah, which makes sense, you know. And then I can always come back up here if need be, which he actually pinned my freaking knight, dude. This is why I started thinking, like, well, I was thinking a long time ago, but because I entered theory on move 7, guys. We're move 30, and this position is, whew, it's not easy. Like, you had to, like, both sides had to be careful. Like, he has 4 pawns here. If you can get it here, then it's pretty much set. Like, he could break through, try to pressurize, get his rooks active. I could try my best to try to promote first, but it's going to be tough on both sides. So, like, he was getting his queen up in here, threatening stuff. So I played queen a4, protect. Now this, this was a lethal move, e5. I can't take. He takes. And I can't take the knight back because it's pinned. Even though it's defended, the knight itself can't move. So he's pretty much going to threaten to win a piece. Because he'll take with knight. I mean, I could try to defend. So if he takes with knight and I played the rook here, then I could take back, attack the queen, send her back. we both have no knights, queen, rook endgame with these pawns, but that's not what happened. I said, let me attack the queen. I said, yeah. He took with check. He opened it up, and it got dangerous. I was getting worried here. And he played queen b7. Seems logical, still targeting my knight. I'm glad I played queen a4 here. I attack. He plays queen back. Doubles. Notice the threat on the pawn. 2. If I allow this to happen, and the queen can't go here, she can't go here, she definitely can't go here. So, like, because of this position and where everything was, I still had a fighting chance. And that's why this all made sense for both sides. Queen a2. So, not only does it defend this pawn, if he takes, what's he gonna do? Give me 2 rook endgame against 1 and a knight? No. So that didn't get played. Now, this was the critical moment, and I got shook here because he's threatening so many things, and you have to play the right move here, or you lose as black. This was literally the deciding moment. Here, there were so many moves. Like, he was threatening to take knight. He probably wanted you to take with knight, in which case he could play queen here, and you're probably going to get torn up and force checkmate somehow. But he played knight e4. And something I was eyeing a while ago was this crossroad. Because I noticed something. I didn't like quite see it in the game. Because I sat in this position for 5-6 minutes. And I thought long and hard for 5 and 6 minutes. Because our game was pretty fast. We had 90-minute time. So both sides had 90 minutes. So that's 3 hours a game can go. Potentially. But we finished our game in like less than 20 minutes. It was around that time we finished. So we played fairly fast. But it was in this position that took me the longest. Because it had me stumped. Because I can't take. Boom. Where do I go? Here. And then there's like this. And then... yeah, it's just a bunch of stupid stuff. I don't know. But anyways, the move I played, because I eventually found it. I literally found the winning move, the literal only move black can play to win and not get crushed next turn. Rook h2 check. Now this looks like a crazy move at first, and my opponent definitely didn't see this. Otherwise, he would not have played knight here. And it took me a while to find this move, and I considered it because I considered I can check, and eventually probably. And then I noticed something. I still have his second rook, because I knew that if he doesn't take, and I take this pawn next turn, this queen and rook defend each other. He can't go here, so he only has 4 squares. And no matter what he plays here, checkmate. This is if he doesn't take. Boom. Checkmate. Boom. Checkmate. Last square. Checkmate. Because nothing defends this pawn. he moved this rook to e1 because, as it makes sense, double up your queen and rook, create pressure along the file, and then have your other rook too to go along the other open file. But we weren't trading rooks. Neither side wanted to trade rooks because he wanted to open the file against me, but I did it first, and then he played knight e4 because this knight was defending that square. So if he doesn't take rook, it's checkmate in one. So he has to take rook in the next move. Queen has more versatility. She has diagonal coverage, unlike the rook. So having the king backed into a corner like this, also the pawn is here. The king only has 2 moves. What if here? Checkmate. What if here? Well, we got check, and this is the variation that happened. This is exactly what was played, and he blocked with queen, but nothing can stop checkmate. So this is a beautiful find. Rook h2 check. That rook sacrifice. And then the last is try to, trade queens or whatever, but my queen still covers these squares. The king can't escape, and my next turn, mate. So it was a brutal checkmate, and I'm glad I found it and won this game because it was the only game I won, and it was against someone who won the last tournament. It's crazy how I go 0 and 5, no 0 and 6, 7th game. I have all the odds against me, and yeah. But anyways, we'll see what the engine says. Normal. I already explained the reasoning behind the French defense, and technically it's equalized. It wants me to play a6 to prevent bishop, but I didn't mind if bishop went there because, like I said, I don't care if we trade bishops and my knight comes here. I can play that. Like you said, it plus 0.1. That's not really winning for white. There's no deciding. Even if he played a4, I'm gonna play a3. 0.1. I mean, as you can see, man. But it suggests this knight move instead, but he castled. Understandable. He wants to play rook e1 eventually. Play knight f6. 0.1 seems equal. d6. Now, I don't know why d6 was played, but as we already went through, it's a human game, And it's funny, g6 isn't even a recommended move here. The engine does not look at g6 at all. And I played it anyways. And it doesn't even recommend bishop here. And he played it anyways. And is recommending this, so bishop, queen, but I played this. 0.4. Equalized. I said, get this bishop back out of here. Now, people who told me, they told me to keep my bishop here in castle instead of taking this knight, because I took the knight because I figured doubling the pawn is good. Even though it gave him a slight advantage, I said double pawn, that's a bigger weakness. Especially in a closed position where it's going to become positional. I don't want knights hopping around. If it comes down to it, yeah, I don't want my dark squared bishop in a tight closed position, having to make weird maneuvers and, yeah, waste tempo, you know? So yeah, Rook B1. I already went through this. Expect I was going to play this. And Engine still recommends it because I played it. Queen, that's a good move. I took. Still says it's equalized. So equal. Took. So yeah. And this is where you enter stage 2 of theory. The engine doesn't recommend Queen A5, but I played it anyways. And that's why you play this move. He targets 2 things at once. Even if I played Rook here, I don't like that move. He would have taken the pawn. So I knew he was getting the pawn anyways. I said, that's good. I'm taking the pawn back. He can't take any more pawns. And he can't even make a threat on my king. So he threatens my knight again. Funny knight here. It's recommended. And somehow I played the subpar worst move. But he played Queen G3, which is bad, I guess. I mean, he played it because he didn't want me to take check. Then he kicked my knight back. And then, yeah. From here, I like the engine. It recommends, it says, oh, well, there's no B7 pawn. Rook's not here. Hit the knight. I just like it. I like how it wants a rook exchange, which probably would have made sense, you know. But I saw you wanted to do this. And it gave him a huge advantage. Just so much. But yeah, we opened up. I mean, white still has an advantage here. It's just hard because it's such a weird position. And, you know, to us, the moves we were making seemed logical. At least for me. But, like, there were slight errors and inaccuracies. Like Queen A5, that's not recommended. I like how it says play that move now. But see, white still has an overwhelming advantage according to Stockfish. Yeah, maybe I should have played my rook here. But I decided to push because, you know, solidify. No more pawn pushing. Knight can't take us. Free material. Look at that crushing number. Oh my gosh. Like I said, I'm making a logical move. Decent. At least what seems logical to me. I said attack the queen. You gotta go back. Oh wow, that one move. And it wants me to trade here to equalize even more, because we'd have 2 rooks in the game, but I didn't play that. And it's crushing because Stockfish wants this to be played. Just look at that. White would have managed to checkmate me in 15 moves here. If they followed this line, it would have been a disaster. So I was like, it just shows the human play. But that's just the one possibility. That didn't happen. Because neither. And like you said, when he played this knight move, I got really worried. Because I said pawn defense, boom, boom, boom. He's gonna, like, watch. See, plus 65. Holy dude. Oh. Yeah, that's not good. Queen, rook, 3 pawn. I mean, yeah, white's gonna lose. So that's why I didn't take with the knight either. And that's probably what he saw. He probably saw that he was gonna win both rooks and fucking castrate me. I didn't see that in the game, but I just knew taking the knight was bad. And I had a feeling it would lead to me getting checkmated, so. Yeah, I played the only move that, if I played any other move, even if I didn't take checkmate 9, checkmate 13, take checkmate 3. So it just goes to show this literally was the deciding moment. If I played any other move besides this one, it didn't matter where I moved, it was game over for either side. It was either I do or don't. I had the golden opportunity. He saw checkmate for him, but he didn't calculate and see my h2 check. Because I sat and thought longer and harder. Because I saw if he went anywhere else, mate 1. Check. And that's what he played. Check. Queen has to block. The rook takes queen and mate. You know, it's all mate. There's nowhere he can go. Well, like, and that's what I was doing. I was calculating space coverage and cutting off the king's path of direction. And even though, like, he was going to crush me, because I knew he was, because I just showed you, I didn't even know he was going to checkmate me. I just had a feeling that it was a disgusting position, and it was. But the fact I saw rook h2 check, brilliant move, and it just led to this. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this crash course on the Sicilian. You know, I stepped outside the norms and played g6, and then I played queen a5, and we went into a weird battle there. But it was a fun game. Props to him. I'm scared to face him again because he knows. He knows now. And he was no easy opponent to defeat. Trust me. If I didn't play rook h2 check and win there, I was going to be checkmated. So anyways, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that.